Look, I know what you guys thinking. Today's not Saturday. Look, we're gonna pretend it's Saturday, okay? Today is Saturday. Yo! What's good, y'all? It's your boy AJ, and welcome back to Saturday Night Frights, where we all come together as a community, watch scary stories, and have a good time doing it. So, hopefully you guys got your snacks, get your blue belly wash, get your Ritz crackers, get some McDonald's, get your dinner, get your soup, get whatever. Go ahead, grab your snacks, come back, and they're about to have a good time, man. So I'm not here to waste any more time. So without further ado, man, let's get it. This one's called The Motel Animated. Have I been to a motel before? I did, a couple times.
I was 19 years old at the time, working at a sketchy motel. The motel
You was
was
working
pretty
there?
run down, and the majority of people who stayed there were locals that were just doing things they weren't supposed to be doing. Let's just say the cops came by multiple times a week.
Oh man,
I worked as both a front desk person, checking in these creeps all hours of the night, and as a housekeeper who got to clean up their nasty, vomit-smelling rooms afterwards.
that sucks.
One afternoon, I was working as a housekeeper in the second building of the motel on the backside furthest from the office. I hated working over there because it not only had the most worn-down rooms, but it was always pretty vacant over there and way too quiet for comfort. I began cleaning one of my last rooms and wanted to get done in a hurry because it was getting late. I was washing the mirror in the room that I was cleaning when all of a sudden,
What the
I
freak
saw a
is that?
man in the reflection staring
Bro.
at me. He was mid-50s, dirty, with long, greasy hair. Startled, I screamed, "Oh my god." I told him he scared me. The room I was currently cleaning was vacant, so there was no reason why this man should have been in there watching me clean. However, we just
He's a
had a meeting
weirdo.
on customer satisfaction, and my boss was really pressuring us to be more polite and help the guests any way we could. Sir?" I asked him cautiously. Can I get you anything? Towels?" The man just stared back at me with a crooked grin and held out his hands to me. I thought
that's
maybe
insane.
he was handing me a tip for cleaning his room earlier, but when I looked down, I saw he was holding a $100 bill. Alarms started going off in my head. No one tips $100 on a $40 a night room. The man just smiled and
Hold
said
on.
his name
Where's that at? $40 a night, bro.
was Terry. He said he was staying in the room next door with his wife Sherry, and sort of joked about their names rhyming.
Bro, let's be honest here. Sucker, you don't have a wife. You don't have nobody. You don't even stay there. Bro, look at you. You do not have a wife, man. Stop lying.
He smelled like car oil and alcohol.
Dude is tall.
When I asked him why he was trying to hand me $100, he laughed deep in his throat and said, "Me and my wife were watching you, and we just wanted to have fun with you."
Oh no, man.
I felt like my heart jumped into my throat. No, I can't do that, sir. I'm sorry." I wanted to run out of the room screaming, but he was blocking the door, my only exit.
You got broad shoulders.
The man smiled again, taking on a softer tone of voice, and invited me to come into his room to meet his wife, just to talk as friends. I nervously told him no again, and that I had a lot of work to do for the day. I prayed to God he would just go away.
Look at that
Eventually
bald
he
patch
did.
in the back.
He
Look at that bald patch.
grunted and walked off in what I assumed to be the direction of his room. My mind
Keep your
began
eye on that
racing.
dude.
There is no wife, I thought. This man could try and kidnap me. I was 110 pounds at the time and not very strong. He could easily overpower me. I locked the room from the inside and went directly to the phone to call my manager at the front desk, but the phone wasn't working.
What?
Adrenaline began pumping through my veins, and despite what I was always told not to do, I was panicking. Did he cut the line? No, I thought. This is a crappy motel. It happens all the time. But I just have to get out.
Go check and see if he cut the
I
line.
remembered that I had my cell phone out on my housekeeping card, but that was outside the locked
Outside,
door.
bro.
I'd have to open the door to get it. I cautiously opened the door to the room that I was cleaning and peered out. I didn't see anyone,
Oh,
so
no.
I frantically began searching my cart for my cell phone.
What if he was
I was
just?
wasting too
What
much
if he
time
was just
looking
in the
for it,
cart?
so I just decided to run as fast as I could and make a break for the front desk in the office. Then from behind me, I heard the man again, but this time he was screaming to someone else, "She's running, she's getting away."
What?
I could hear his shoes slamming against the pavement after me. I quickly turned the corner, grabbed my keycard, and let myself into a stockroom and locked the door. Within moments, I heard the sound of the dirty guy and someone else running outside, searching for me.
Bro, they're
I stayed in
weirdos.
that stockroom for 30 minutes shaking until I could no longer hear him searching for me. I finally got the courage to run the rest of the way to the front desk. When I made it there, I collapsed into my boss's arms and he called the police. The man and whoever else was in the room with him peeled out before the cops could arrive, and I was beyond shaken up. According to the police who ran a search, this wasn't the first time he had done something like this, and he was actually wanted for sexual assault, gross sexual imposition, and in the past was once charged with rape.
Bro,
A
you
few
look like
weeks
a
later,
weirdo.
on what happened to be my birthday, this guy was caught. A few weeks after that, I quit. I will never again work at another motel.
I bet. Bro, a whole bunch of crazy stuff happened at motels, man. Oh my gosh. Sleepover stories animated.
This happened when I was 15 years old. My best friend Anthony wanted me to come over for the night since his parents would be gone all weekend. I rode my bike over and put it in his backyard before letting myself in through his back door. We played basically every video game he had, from FIFA all the way to Call of Duty, with popcorn and other junk food spilled out all over the floor.
That sounds like fun.
As the night progressed, we moved from video games to watching half a movie and getting bored to doing prank calls at close to 10 o'clock. Anthony made a few calls to different pizza places. When it was my turn, I just dialed a few random numbers in hopes to get someone at their house. On, say, my fourth attempt, I finally reached somebody. A guy with a deep and rough voice picked up, answering with a yeah instead of a hello. Anthony's laughing in the background made me stumble with my words mid-sentence, ultimately cracking up into laughter.
You already failed.
I had never
The
done
jig
a
is
prank
up.
call, so I sucked at it. The guy on the other end was silent. I regained a straight face and tried to continue with the call. It went something like this. Sir, would it be alright if I borrowed one of the wheels from your car? What's your name, kid? My name is Bob. Really? You sure it's not Anthony?
This sucker actually, how he know his name? Bro, that dude is up to no good, bro. There is no way he knew his name, bro.
It hit me like a
What would
brick.
y'all do in the situation?
I looked up at Anthony, whose face was noticeably full of fear.
Oh, that's his
I
name.
hung up the phone,
Ah,
not wanting
nah.
to be on the line with whoever that was for another second. Anthony, who the hell was that? I asked him. I don't know, he told me. Does your caller ID info display your name or something? No, it shows my dad's name. We hopped on the computer and did some research, trying to figure out how it was possible to get someone's name through their phone number. It didn't make sense how he could get Anthony's name so quickly. He was way
crazy.
too young at the time to be on any of those personal information sharing websites. We ended up asking a question on Yahoo Answers, since no one had a similar experience. The question turned up no answers. I suggested he call his dad, but he said he wasn't supposed to have anybody over for the weekend, so he didn't want to call. We planned on sleeping in the living room, so we just resumed watching the movie that we hadn't finished from earlier. Right after the phone call had left my mind, me and Anthony looked at each other when we heard his front storm door opening, and then the doorknob to the front door began to turn. It only was able to turn about halfway before the lock restricted it. Anthony turned off the TV, and I went over to the window to see who it was. I spread the blinds open. There was a tall guy standing outside. He noticed the blinds moving and turned to look at me. I practically threw the blinds back into place. Me and Anthony hid in the kitchen, listening for any more noises. We heard the sound of the gate to the backyard opening, as it was right outside the kitchen window.
Some loud gates.
God damn it, I said. I forgot to shut the back door.
What?
Anthony
Bro,
urged me to run and shut it.
it's over for
I
y'all.
made it to the hallway leading to his back door, and froze. There was a silhouette standing outside the back door. I don't think he
Bro, get something, throw it out the door, and close it. And as it's closed, lock the door, and then run away.
noticed me, but he was surely looking into the house. He opened the door and stepped inside. I tiptoed to the kitchen and motioned for Anthony to follow me upstairs. We made it to his room as quietly as possible, pulling the door shut to avoid making any noise. We crawled under his bed. He had cloth covering the bottom of his bed, so you couldn't see anything under it unless you actually moved the cloth. The doors downstairs all opened, each one getting closer to the stairs. Thumps finally
Oh my
began up
gosh.
the stairs, and he was right outside the door now.
You wearing big boots?
The door to the room opened. I could hear Anthony's breathing. It was too loud. Footsteps moved over to the closet, and then the closet opened. I could hear the coat hangers being slid around as the fabric of the jackets and coats rubbed against each other. Footsteps moved over to the bed and stopped. I felt like my heart was about to explode out of my chest. Anthony's breathing was too loud.
Hey, shut up, man.
I had
Stop
to cover
breathing
his
so
mouth
loud.
with my hand. Nothing but silence in the room now. We laid still for so long, I almost thought he wasn't even in the room anymore. I moved my hand away from Anthony's mouth and whispered in his ear, "You think we can make a run for it?"
Why would you? Bro, you have to wait
He
until
was
you hear
about to
movement.
answer when the most disturbing, memory-haunting scream I'd ever heard filled my ears
Really?
as Anthony was seemingly dragged out from under the bed.
Yo.
I crawled out and saw him struggling with the man. I desperately looked around for anything to use as a weapon.
The lamp.
I settled with the screwdriver sitting
that
on his
too.
nightstand. I hurried over to the man and drove the screwdriver into his back. He let go of Anthony as he let out a scream of agony, giving us time to get the hell out of the house. Running onto the road would give away our position too easily. It would take too long to make it to his neighbor's house. We dove for the tree line in the woods and took cover behind a bush, watching the house. The back door
Bro,
opened.
I ain't gonna
as
lie.
the
After I would have did that with the screwdriver, I would have threw him on the floor and did a flying knee drop. I ain't gonna lie. His knees, my knee's gonna get connected to his face, man. He's gonna get
stepped
messed up real
outside,
bad.
looking around the backyard. He then looked out to the woods. I felt his eyes pass me as he scanned through the tree line. It seemed that it was too dark for him to see us. Then, he turned his head back in our direction.
Oh, what?
I ducked
got night
behind
vision?
the bush. Joe, he's coming. What? Dude, get up, we gotta run. He was right. The man was approaching us fast. How could he have seen us?
Bro, jump him. There's two of
We
y'all
ran through
versus
the
him.
woods with the leaves crunching under us, giving away our position. When Anthony tripped over something, I crouched down with him, hoping we had run far enough. Not even 20 seconds later, oncoming footsteps from the direction we
Yo,
were
that dude was
from
running
came
fast.
They slowed down only 2 trees away from us as we lay face down in the leaves. Moments later, the footsteps take off in another direction. We waited until we could no longer hear them and took off back in the direction of the house. While running, over the sound of leaves crushing and my heavy breathing, I could swear I heard leaves crushing from behind us. We made it back to his backyard, into his house, and this time remembering to shut the back door.
Yeah, lock the
We
door.
were now able to call the police. Anthony stayed on the line with them, while I patrolled the back windows, making sure nobody was out there. It was so dark, though, I couldn't see anything. So I did something that seems stupid today. I turned on his backyard lights.
Why would you do
And
that?
immediately in the
Bro.
distance, over by the woods, I saw him
Look at this dude, man.
standing in front of a big tree. He turned off back into the woods and disappeared out of sight.
Bro.
That was the last time me or Anthony ever saw him. I would be lying if I told you we heard the occasional knocks at our windows or something cliche. No, that was it. 5 years have passed and nothing has happened. Do I wonder if it was somehow linked to the prank call? Maybe. Does it make sense? Not really.
It doesn't make
But
any
yeah,
sense at all, man.
This was the story of how me and my still best friend Anthony almost died during a break-in.
Man, y'all should have really jumped him. It's really two of y'all versus him, bro. When you had him when you stabbed him in the back of the neck with the screwdriver, that's when y'all should have tag team him and do two flying leg drops or knee drops. Man, that's what y'all should have both did that. The roommate animated it.
Looking for a new roommate is always a daunting task. Even though you interview and take the time to get to know that person, you don't truly find out who they are until you start living with them. I had begun searching for a roommate after I decided to leave my current residency. I was contacted a couple of hours after placing an ad on the Facebook Marketplace. The message read,
Hey Chris,
okay.
I'll be moving out of my current apartment this August and I'm looking to room with someone new, as my roommates are moving to California this year. I'm 27 and I'm currently going to school. When I'm
27?
not at school, I
Okay.
enjoy hiking and watching movies.
All right.
I also apprentice at a taxidermy shop on the days I don't have class. Hope that's not weird. It's always been a fun hobby of mine. Anyway, I'm looking forward to hearing back from you. Have a great day, Lunaire.
All right, Lanier, I see you. Hold on, let me go back real quick. All right, I see you, Lanier. Oh, you can't see it because I'm blocking it, but all right, I see you. I see you.
The message was to check her profile. She was of medium height, had long, messy blonde hair and green eyes. In her profile picture, I saw her standing with a man and a woman shoulder to shoulder. They each adorned goofy grins and held up peace signs. Under the photo, the caption read, "Love my roommates." I smiled to myself and decided to send her a message back.
Oh, who's her in the
The sun
background?
beat down on us as we hoisted various objects to the second floor of our new apartment. It took us a couple days to get everything out of the moving trucks and into our new place, but as soon as we did, a wave of relief washed over our sweat-drenched and sore bodies. After a couple more hours of rearranging, we each grabbed a beer from the fridge and sat on the porch. We reminisced about old 90s cartoons and what video games we obsessed over as kids, and as the sun started to set, I truly felt relaxed and confident that things were going to work out. A week later, I started a new job for a construction company that was owned by a good friend of mine. As I was getting ready, I heard the front door swing open. I walked into the living room to see Lunaire and her friend David sliding in a large box. "What you got there?" I asked. Through a strained grunt, she replied,
I bought a freezer to store some of the animals I'm planning on using in my taxidermy work.
Don't bring that
Hope
to
that's
home,
alright.
man. No, it's not. Don't bring
I
that
was
at home.
obviously hesitant at first, as there was no mention of this happening in the first place, but I eventually accepted and returned to my room to continue getting ready for work. I came home
Bro,
at around 9 p.m.
house
after
gonna
having
stink.
a couple of beers with friends and noticed that the freezer was nestled snugly in the lower part of the pantry. A low hum could be heard reverberating off of the inner walls. I was curious to see what was inside, but didn't want to intrude on Lunaire's business, so I went into my room and changed into more comfortable clothing. After changing, I came back out into the kitchen and started making a sandwich. I opened the fridge and grabbed what I
Juice.
needed. As I turned around, I stubbed my toe on the edge of the island
Oh, I
countertop
hate
and
that
let out a
feeling.
long, exasperated grunt. Through my frustration, I slammed the fridge door shut and checked my toe to see if there was any bleeding.
I would've did the
As
same
I
thing.
raised my head back up, I was greeted by a shadowy figure.
Oh.
Lunaire was standing in the doorway leading to her room. The darkness behind her almost seemed to envelop her.
Is everything okay?
Why are you
She
looking
said
like
in a
that?
deadpan tone. "Shit, yeah, I'm sorry. I just slammed my toe into the corner of the countertop as I was making a sandwich. I hope I didn't wake you,"
It's fine.
she said.
There's
in the
something
same
wrong with her,
deflated
bro.
tone as before. She then turned around and walked back into the darkness of her room. I could tell that she was
Shoot, I would've
pissed,
followed her.
so I quietly made my sandwich and retreated back to my room as well, only hearing the low hum from the freezer as I closed my door.
Yeah, you need to check
I
that
had
freezer.
the next day off, so I was able to sleep in a little longer than usual. When I finally emerged from my room, I walked into the kitchen to make breakfast. As I opened the refrigerator, I noticed that the light wasn't turning on and there was a lack of cold air escaping from inside.
Really?
I turned around and flipped the light switch to confirm my suspicion. Sure enough, the power was out.
Oh man,
Damn it,
hate
I
that
muttered
feeling.
under my breath. I walked over to Lunaire's room and knocked on her door to tell her about the power outage if she didn't already know, but there was no answer. I then remembered that she had classes that day and probably wasn't home. I walked back to the kitchen and past the pantry.
It got a lock
As
now.
I did, I slipped on the floor but was able to catch myself on the countertop. "What the?"
She put a
I
lock on
angrily
it.
exclaimed as I looked down at the floor trying to figure out what I had slipped on. It was blood. It
Blood.
started to leak
Bro.
from the corner of the freezer and pool onto the floor.
There's something wrong with her.
I quickly tried to open the freezer to find out the cause of the viscous liquid, but then I noticed that it had a padlock attached to it. I don't remember seeing that before. I ran out to my car and grabbed my toolbox from the back seat. I approached the freezer and set my tools down on the nearby countertop. I then pulled out a small pair of bolt cutters and snapped through the metal of the padlock. It fell to the ground with a large thud. I creaked open the top of the freezer and was
I
greeted
see.
with a putrid stench that permeated my
I
nostrils.
know that thing
I
stink,
quickly
man.
pinched my nose and walked away, gagging in response. I guess I should have realized that was gonna happen, I muttered to myself in between gags. After gaining my composure, I grabbed some gloves from under the sink and started taking inventory. I could see a couple of dead birds and plastic bags wedged into the corners of the freezer.
So nasty.
I took each bag out and set them in the trash can nearby. That's when I noticed that the blood was coming from the corner of the larger black bag. I don't know why, but I decided to open the top of the bag and peer inside. I was greeted by large, milky white eyes, a swollen black tongue surrounded by cracked and bloated lips.
That's our old roommate.
Matted hair of a human head.
Oh no, man.
I swiftly dropped the bag and fell backwards onto the floor. My breathing had ceased to exist, and I grabbed the trash can next to me and expelled my disgust into it.
The same one you threw the other animals
I ran
in?
out the door, got into my car, and called the police. As I sat in the interrogation room with a blanket over my shoulders, I couldn't help but think about the face I'd seen. It looked so familiar.
It's
That's
a
when it
roommate.
finally hit me. I pulled out my phone and looked at Lunaire's profile picture. It was her old roommate.
Bro, that's
The one
so
she
sad.
said was moving to California. When the detective entered the room, she started the questioning process, asking me if I started noticing any weird behavioral occurrences around the apartment. Yeah, I stubbed my toe the other day and she creepily stood in the doorway. It seemed like she was pissed, but for some reason I had a strange feeling like she was concerned about something. That's when I connected the dots. She didn't come out into the kitchen because she heard me stub my toe. She came out into the kitchen because she thought I slammed the freezer instead of the fridge. A cold sweat started to form on my forehead as my surroundings became blurred. I could hear a low whine slowly starting to cover up the words of concern from the detective. As my
you
vision
good?
started to clear, I could see another officer enter the room and whisper something into her ear as he handed her a piece of paper. "Do you have somewhere you could stay at?" she asked. I mean, I was planning on staying with my parents. They live about 30 minutes outside of town. Okay, she paused. Listen, I don't want to worry you, but we found this picture inside of your apartment. She slid the piece of paper across the table, and I immediately felt like someone kicked me in the chest. The head of Lunaire's other roommate sat on the chair. In the background, scrawled
Love my roommates, all of them?
blood read, "Love my roommates,
Bro,
all of them."
she's a psycho, man. No, Lunaire, nah, man, nah. I ain't gonna lie. Hey, I also hit though. I ain't gonna lie. Midnight Horror Story.
I'm not making this video for attention, or sympathy, or anything. I just want anyone who can help me to do that. My name's Daniel, and this is a story I wish I didn't have to tell. I've been a night owl my entire life. As a teen, I used to stay up way past midnight every night,
We all
watching
did.
terrifying videos on YouTube. I know now they were nothing compared to the horrors of the real world.
Is he standing in food?
Nothing compared to the tragedy my family and I went through. The story I'm gonna tell to you now. My parents, being teachers, had always emphasized the importance of sleeping well to me, and would definitely disapprove of my late-night routine. So I knew that if they'd caught me up at that time, I'd be in big trouble. At first, this wasn't a problem, but after I told them about a child predator in our neighborhood that I'd seen in one of my videos, they seemed to grow more and more paranoid, which was obviously understandable. Every night, I'd hear one of them wandering into my room, checking on me, and every night, I'd immediately turn off my light and pretend to be asleep.
I feel like we all been through
Never knew
that.
for sure if it was my mom or dad coming in, since obviously if I opened my eyes to see, they'd know I was awake. Mostly, I presumed it was my dad, from the heavy-sounding footsteps, but
Look at
either
his
way,
feet.
I found it pretty hypocritical for them to preach to me about being up late when they were awake themselves. Sometimes I wondered if they knew I wasn't sleeping, because often it was only after what seemed like hours before they'd finally leave and go to check on Alfie. That's my little brother, and Lucy, my little sister. I'd have asked them about it, but I thought it would have confirmed any suspicions which they seemed to already have about my staying awake deep into the mornings of the next day. Like I said, I guess they were just paranoid about the child predator. It was stupid for me to presume any of these things, and I'll never forgive myself for it, but I did it all the same. Anyway, one day, Lucy's school, where my parents both work, announced a school trip. It meant they'd be gone at some point next month from Saturday morning to Sunday morning, and it meant that I'd finally get to watch the horror movie my friend had lent me, that my parents had refused to let me watch. There was one downside, though. I'd be left to look after Alfie. He, being only 6 years old, my mom was reluctant to leave him in my care alone, but my dad defended me, reminding her that Alfie had been up most of the night after a nightmare, so he'd probably sleep most of the day anyway. Besides, he reassured her, he's 17. He can be given a little responsibility. With a heavy heart, my mom agreed. I honestly wish she hadn't. Finally, the morning came for them to head off. It took longer than expected because my sister said some of her favorite toy dolls had been stolen. But eventually, my mom persuaded her that they were probably just lost and told me to look for them whilst they were gone. I begrudgingly agreed, and soon they were ready to go. As they were leaving, my mom gave me a stern word, reminding me to lock the doors, not go to bed too late, and take good care of Alfie. She told me she'd be watching through the security cameras to make sure I was looking after him properly. I told her she really didn't have to worry. Then we said our goodbyes, and they were off. Alfie and I spent most of the day playing outside, but came in after the frisbee landed near a strange man who Alfie said had been in his nightmare.
What?
I told him that was ridiculous, because even if he somehow was in his dream, he wouldn't be able to remember.
That's not true.
I went by myself to get it, and I have to admit that the man was fairly creepy. He had a huge grin, and his eyes, staring right
Look at his shirt
seemed to be
and his
permanently
pants
forced further open than they were designed to go. His clothes all seemed to have been made from someone 50 years younger,
bro,
as they struggled to cling to his fully grown body.
Look at this sucker's face, man.
It was cold, but he was wearing a sun hat, a tiny one for children, which barely fit on his head. I recognized it, but didn't know how at the time. If I'd learned anything from the videos I spent my nights watching, I'd have abandoned the frisbee and left. But clearly I didn't, because not wanting to feel like a baby, I approached him. As I got closer to the man, his smile disappeared, and he removed the hat and held it behind his back. I began to see his features in greater detail. He looked tired. He was pale and his eyes were bloodshot and had huge gaping bags under them.
Dude, look creepy.
In the entire time it took me to get to him, the man didn't move an inch, other than the odd blink. Not even his eyes shifted. At this stage, I was getting uneasy. I just wanted to get it and leave. Hi, can I have my frisbee back, please? Thanks. The thought of that conversation,
and now you turn your back to him, bro.
Call it a conversation, still makes me shiver. I locked the front door as soon as we got home. We were both a bit shaken, and Alfie looked tired, so I gave him some more food and put him to bed. It took him about 2 hours to fall asleep. He kept complaining that he'd have another nightmare about that man. I told him he wouldn't, but he wasn't convinced.
I see him every night,
he whispered to me. Well, if you see him again, don't worry, I'll be here to fight him off. This seemed to settle him down, and soon he was fast asleep. At about 11, it was
Dragon
time
Ball
to
Z?
put my film on. I couldn't have my mom knowing that I was watching it, so I did something naive and ignorant, and something I'll always regret. I turned off the security cameras.
Why would you do that?
I watched it for 2 hours straight, my eyes never straying from the screen. Until...
Oh.
I replayed the last few seconds of the film, but the sound didn't happen again. It was coming from inside my house.
How?
Alfie? He didn't reply, but I could see him
Wait.
under the cover,
Why is
so
the,
I
how
thought
do?
he was just asleep.
Whoa,
I
whoa,
didn't want
whoa,
to wake him
whoa.
up.
How is the window wide open? Aren't they on the second floor? Dude, bro, that creepy man, bro.
I swear, if I thought anything worse had happened, I'd have checked. You okay? I thought maybe I was just worrying too much, hearing things. It was
You didn't notice the window
film
open?
had been scary. Maybe it was just all in my head. I knew from the sound of his voice it was him. Alfie! Alfie?
Bro, the window was wide
Usually
open.
this much noise would have woken him up. Alfie, what's going on? I knew something was wrong. It was him. The doll. I couldn't
Bro.
believe it. It had to be some kind of sick prank. It had to be. But it wasn't. It was the man I'd spoken to earlier.
Look at his,
He'd taken my
look at his
mother.
bozo.
Alfie! I was certain they'd be gone before I could reach them. But he didn't set off straight away. He watched as I tried helplessly to do something.
Man, I would have broke the door.
screamed and I shouted and I banged on the windows and I tried to open the doors. But nothing worked.
Look at him, bro.
It was all in vain. There was nothing I could do for my brother, my best friend, as he was stolen away from me.
Did you get the license plate number?
It
You
was
remember
too
it?
late for the police to do anything. It was too late for anybody to do anything.
I don't think
It was
so.
gone. And in time, I'd have to come to accept that.
You have 9 new messages. First message.
Hello? If you're out with Alfie, call me back when you get back in, please. Love you guys. Bye.
End of message. Second message.
Daniel, we've been trying to get a hold of you for hours. Is everything alright? Did you turn the security cameras off?
They'll be fine. The security system probably just glitched out. Hey, Alfie, just call us as soon as you can, okay? You know how Mom worries.
End
That's
of
crazy.
message. Third message.
Listen, Daniel, we're starting to get really worried now. If you don't pick up, one of us is gonna have to come home to check if everything's okay. Please pick up.
End of message. Fourth.
Bro, call him.
Daniel, are you okay? Daniel! What's happened? Please answer.
Say something, man.
Couldn't bear to tell them anything.
Bro, you gotta tell him.
That was 7 years ago. We never found him. When I asked my parents if they'd seen anything at all of this man whilst they checked on us during the night, they only looked at me, concerned and confused. What do you mean? They asked. I could only stare at them in horror. Every night, around 2, you'd come and check on Alfie, Lucy, and me to see if we were sleeping.
Daniel?
They told me.
No,
we
we
didn't.
didn't.
The police
Yo.
wanted security camera footage of the man, but of course, there wasn't any. It automatically deletes any footage older than 24 hours, which meant I'd been mindless enough to stop it recording on the only night we could have seen him. You know, the strange thing is, I don't even know if I want Alfie to be alive. Because if he is,
That's like a
God
scar.
knows what that monster has done to him. Sorry if I've gone on too long, but the guilt's been killing me. I had to get it out somehow. I only tell it as a story because, well, people like stories, and I want as many people to hear this as possible. Alfie, if somehow you're watching, I love you. And I'm so sorry. Please don't lose hope. And to the man who took you, it's not too late. If you have any heart at all, and even if you don't, please let my little brother come home.
That sucker's not doing that.
Everybody else. If
Yeah, that's
someone
crazy,
comes into
though.
your bedroom at night, open your eyes. You never know who it might be. I still stay up late at night. But it's not because I don't want to sleep. It's because I can't. In case anyone sees Alfie, this is the last good photo we took of him. That's it. Stay safe. Thank you.
Man, that last story, that's sad, bro. Like, bro, that can happen to literally anybody. Like, this literally goes on every day. Like, people get kidnapped every day, bro. There's a whole bunch of weirdos on this earth, man. Like, bro, I don't understand their thought process, but bro, let somebody do that to one of my family members, man. They get knocked out on sight. Anyways, with that being said, I'm gonna end it off right there, y'all. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Please smack the like button, subscribe today to join the AA, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.